can you run us through, what I say concisely, happenings? It's been 3 weeks now that the suit against the Executive Council has existed. Give us a chronological analysis of the whole issue.
Okay, thank you very much. Again, I would like to say good evening to our dear listeners. I think this impeachment process started on some notes that brought controversies between the Judicial Council and the petitioners, where it was the idea of the Chief Justice that both parties, together with the clerk, go and decide on the date of the hearing, which brought a whole lot of issues up, and eventually it was resolved. So I think from the first court proceeding, the counsel for the respondent didn't show up, so it was adjourned. Mm-hmm. And I think last week they met. That was the second hearing.
Yes.
And there, the court also ordered that some people should be also petitioned to be part of the case. That was the welfare chairperson. Mm-hmm. The current welfare chairperson should be added to the case because the issue was a welfare issue. And again, they asked...
When you say added to the case, that he should be part of the plaintiffs? Or
no, as a defendant, to come and respond.
Okay.
You know, some of these issues that relate to his office.
Okay.
Yeah, and the court also ordered the defendants to respond to the claims of their petitions, the petitioners or the plaintiffs, and that was provided during the third hearing, which was, I think, a couple of days ago.
Yes.
At the auditorium.
Okay.
And that's where the big issue happened. I think on the second hearing too, the witness for the plaintiff appeared in court, and he almost fought the case of the plaintiff because as a witness, you have some questions you can't play smart with. You know, you can't try to be, trying to play so.
Okay.
And this is a court too, where we have intellectuals, the legal minds, trying to just oppose issues you are putting before them. He was asked whether he had paid money to some students. He said yes. Mm-hmm. And I think the counsel for the plaintiff asked if he could identify the person he paid the money to. Okay. He said no. So you can't tell me you paid money to an anonymous person.
Yes.
So who then do we blame? You understand? And it was later, that is off the record though, trying to find out issues. We were told some way, somehow, it's alleged that the defendants had gotten in touch with him and probably, if not threatened, have spoken to him, not to probably name people, even specifics. So that was what happened. So during the third hearing was the climax, should I say, the zenith of the whole issue about the audio tape.
Yes.
That the plaintiff claimed they had in their possession. It was played during the court.
Wait, the match talk about audio tape was played in court?
It was played in court.
To the hearing of all?
Yeah. Okay. And then I think the Dean of Students was present.
Okay.
Yes. And so what happened was, initially, the chief respondent, I think that should be the SRC Vice President, Christopher, admitted it was his voice, but then the tape was doctored. That was his case, that the audio they played in court was doctored. So then the argument from the counsel for plaintiff was, if you claim that the audio is doctored, then the argument of burden of proof came in. Show us the original tape if you claim the tape was doctored.
Okay.
Then he changed his argument and said the tape didn't exist.
Didn't exist?
Yes. Meanwhile, you've earlier on admitted it was your voice, but it was so when it became
wait, didn't exist. I should try to think. Like you are trying to say that the tape did not take place.
Exactly.
The discussions in there did not take place.
And later when it was pushed harder, he said it was his voice, but then it was excerpt of series of conversation he had as an SRC vice president. But the issue is, if you claim it a series or excerpts of discussion you've had,
that proves that the discussion
is you are the one. It's your voice. You made that statement, but probably they are picking it out of context. But the statement you made it. So I think those were the deliberations that went on during the court proceedings, and eventually the court adjourned. And I think in the next hearing should be next week Friday.
Okay.
And which is most likely, next week Friday. Yeah. Okay. Which is most likely we are going to hear the verdict concerning this case. If indeed the reliefs of the plaintiffs will be granted by the courts, the highest court of SRC.
Before
or
we
not.
have Anda speak, you listen to the audio tape.
Sure.
Um,
I listen to a sort of a radio.
you know Christopher and his personality.
Oh, sure.
Do you think it's him in there?
Oh, from the voice, sure. I could clearly identify.
So based on your own ear, you're not an expert though, but
Sure.
you
On my-
come back.
sure.
Yes, you come back. That's his voice
I
in there.
heard clearly the voice of the SRC vice president.
Okay, Anda, let's have your take on the issue.
Well, it might be quite very short, and I have to attend to an emergency right, unfortunately. But maybe I'll just pass my preliminary comments, and you can just join me over the phone so I can continue. I'll be following the discussion. Anyways, I just sit back and look at or listen to all these things, and I just feel like I'm in the good old days when Charlie, we had to just be barging court and arguing our points out and all that. I've listened to pockets of reports about this whole issue, and I think that it's good. I mean, it strengthens our body politic, it strengthens our institutions, and I should be the last person not to support any attempt to strengthen our laws or to test our laws. Let me put it that way. I do not have, of course, would not want to preempt the outcome of the court, and so I want to preserve the sacrosanct nature of the case, and pending the final determination of the matter, I think it is in good hands. I have every confidence in the judicial system, because I mean I've been to the judicial system a couple of times, and not because I'm not attesting to the credibility, because almost all, in fact let me say all the cases are pursued were given in my favor. But if you look at the nature of the judgment, you know that indeed they place culpability where culpability lies. Impeachment proceedings are usually the sole remit of the parliamentary council, usually, I mean naturally.
Yes.
And so of course, but if you have grounds, removal of office proceedings are also quite, if you look at the constitution, there are avenues within which you want to press home your demand. Either you want to remove an SRC officer from office. There are a lot of avenues within the law. So I would advise the plaintiff to explore those avenues. Okay, if it is an impeachment, you know how to go. The law is very clear on all those things. Okay, now I would want to, about the doctrine or whatever, it's within the court's remit to decide as to whether the authenticity of the document or of the other legal arguments could come up, how it was procured, whether the court can depart from as to whether it was legally procured or not, and if it realizes that the contents are very serious and has significant influence on the outcome of the case or on the whole nature of the case, the court can at any point in time depart from the fact that it was illegally procured, and also look at the content of the matter, of course treated with every sense of confidentiality that it deserves. I want to say that for me, finally, in my everything that we are doing, it should be the interest of students that we are securing.
Yes.
Then that's one side policy is a very good policy, but we cannot allow anything to dent the credibility of such a very strategic program. I was part of the people who, I was actually the one who reviewed the final document, and so it is dear to my heart, and I think the locus of such a policy must be kept in its original nature. I want to believe that it should be in good hands. No matter how it is implemented, at the end of the day, we shouldn't forget that there are students who are brilliant but needy and need assistance. We can't be using our monies for a whole lot of things that are not necessary. When students cannot afford 3 square meals, cannot afford fees for the education, and so I will not pronounce judgment. I will listen to the full report of everything that has happened. But like I said, I'm very hopeful that it is in good hands. It is in the hands of the judicial council who will do justice to it actually. So let us look at how we are going to strengthen the policy. Let's allow the outcome. I'll be able to speak on a lot of things. When the judgment is out, whether indeed it has been it has been properly heard or not. So let us look at how it is. For me, I think we should refocus on the interest of students. That is what is important. Okay.
Thanks so much, Anda. Anda unfortunately has to attend to other business, but taking his place is very able, Rachel Ananientry. Rachel, you were also with me. That was at the court hearing. Would you say, based on the attendance or the interest of students, would you say it's high or low in this particular case?
Well, personally, from what people have been telling me and how people have been approaching me, I know a lot of students are interested, but the court hearing time is somehow not really communicated, as in on notice boards, and it's only probably by word of mouth if somebody knows about the hearing time. But from what I saw that was on Thursday.
Yes, that was on Thursday.
That was on Thursday.
Yes.
The people were really interested. Someone told me that he stopped watching his football match to come to the hearing. So even if there are not a lot of people there, a lot of people are interested, and most people rely on the people who attend the court hearing for more information. So I would just encourage a lot of people not to be opinionated.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be biased. If people ask them what's going on, just tell them the facts. This side did this side did that, and let's put this case into the Chief Justice capable hand. I believe and I highly trust in our judiciary system.
Exactly.
I really trust in it now. So I'm just waiting for the verdict of the Chief Justice and his other justices.
Okay, so we do believe and know that the Judicial Council is very, very able to handle this case. We have seen other cases being handled even in a better manner. So we should not fear as to the case getting a very good hearing. But we have a lot of, what I say, processes which is being dragged because of this entire issue, because there's a lot of injunctions being brought forward by these suits. Don't you think this entire suit is delaying students' productivity? That's SLC's productivity in any way?
I believe so. But I also believe that if something hadn't happened, we wouldn't be where we are. Okay. So let us reap the consequences of what we have done. And let justice take its course. Let's see if it is really true. Let's hear the verdict. If it is not, let's just listen to the verdict so that we can move. I think there are higher things and better things that the SRC could be doing just apart from, tendering to this case. So let us come together as students, as the SRC. I believe all the students are part of the SRC, and just come to the end of this whole issue so that the SRC can work on our behalf.
So, Michael, also I believe that, all these court proceedings delay the SRC in executing some of the policies they have. If you look at this current administration in particular, the way they had to, they had to go through court processes during the election period. It took much of their time, period they could have used to strategize how to relay some of their various or numerous initiatives. You get it? But now, if we have it to look like we have to always go to court to resolve issue, which take time, which take resources, you then delay every SRC in trying to probably, execute what they had really promised students. So I believe that going forward, students should take note of the provisions of the Constitution, make sure that all they do are in line, or majority of their activities and initiatives are in line with the Constitution, and let us avoid this judicial hearings over and over again. So I think, we are just trusting that our judicial system will work as it has always been the case. We don't, as Anders said earlier on, we don't want to be too prejudicial with the case, but we just hope that things will go the right way and all parties involved will all have closure at the end of the day. If it goes in your favor, you know that you trusted in the system and you went to the Judicial Council, and as such, it went in your favor. Or if it go against you, you accept it in that same light,
Great. If you just tuned in, this is the Students Agenda Show. It's 8:15 p.m. and we are discussing the suit that has been filed against the Executive Council.
Wasn't airport in my eye, Mojana, no shagun at it to my eye. Edumene was so say a bay, a piatwaso, Ningen twas good to Crania, Person, Eddie ain't Bramo, the Mamaya, Sassi, what you think about it? Oh, my Lord, I said, I'm so private. I know.
Yeah, we go. Okay, this is my motherland, Lady Ghana tiny. Anything I go talk, we get a tiny. Bo, Boniya, hey, Boni Dan F.A. Many me feel he get here, many won't pay.
Well, it's 14 minutes to the end of the show. Today we have taken issues rather slowly. Today we are reminiscing the good things which the students have done. Earlier we heard from Back Camp Sunyane. Yeah. Great stuff that the students are doing. Also we heard from Martha Tay. She is a student in the university and she's doing great stuff with developers in Vogue. And currently she's working on a project in which she I'm sure she's programming a robot to be able to replace your tutor. Of course, you can't replace a human being with a robot, but it would help students a lot, a great deal. Imagine you have you have a test that's at 6 a.m. and you have some questions you need answered that's at 2 a.m. You can't call your lecturer at that hour. So, well, great innovation there. But currently, we are talking about a lot of issues pertaining to suits filed in the court. We should make mention, there's a caveat, that we are not, pronouncing judgments on the case. These are mere opinions. Okay, with that said, let's still get into the issues. Rachel, do you have any additions on the whole case, the discussions this evening?
Medal consistency.
Michael, my issue right now is, when it appears to most of our current SLC executive that they probably have been witch-hunted. If you put that attitude up, it makes me feel like they've been hypocritical. Because we've had it in this administration. During the previous administration, these people were part of plaintiff that saw to it that when the administration were not doing the right thing, they took them to the Judicial Council for things to be rectified. So even this time you are put in the light and you are put in the spot, you don't mark some students as to be like they are trying to be tyrants and trying to make sure you are not longer in power. You get it? We all trust in the system. That is why you took your case there. When this issue came up, how many times have you reached out to this SLC executive to be present here to justify? Anytime they turn up the offer, and this is a democratic environment, we all express our view. That is why we equally give you opportunity. It's not like we want to hear one side of the story. And one thing is, during the court proceeding, we all have people around. Things you don't admit, we won't come and say you admitted it. And this is not like it's one person who is against the majority of people saying that you admitted. You get it? So if someone thinks on the show, we pass comments, we pass, statements that they didn't make, I think they know the right channel to address such issues. Even in the, national level, when we were having the court, the issue of, I think 2014 election period, during the court proceedings, we have journalists giving their expert view of things that goes on. It doesn't mean they were trying to be prejudicial with the case. They were not passing verdicts, but you look at pros and cons of issues that proceed in court room. You understand? Oh, this person said this, you weigh it against it. What is the law saying? Is it the right thing? And if we are not having the right to do that as journalists or probably as student activists, then what do we have to do again?
Well, I think it's just because there are probably not transcripts on court proceedings.
Sure.
So when it's like there are things that cannot be like
Rachel, before you go any further, please, if the security is around, we urge you to get to the studios right now. There are some individuals that are really misbehaving. Rachel, do go forward.
I just want to say, let black be black, let white be white. Okay. If it is this, we have to go through this procedure to get things done. Let's say if it's white, would have to go through this procedure to do this. If not, if it is black, it means we have to go through a different route. There is no way that we can take the same route to go to somewhere that is like we are not supposed to be.
You see,
We are not supposed to be where we are.
We don't have to
as
make
a
it
school.
appear good to some parties involved.
It is
This
not
is
that
not
we
the
are-
attitude of
it's appearing
the
as
no,
good to some-
currently the attitude of the SRC vice president is something not surprising.
Medoc.
I remember
Well,
during the campaign
Medoc,
period. Do you remember
Medoc.
he came to the studios when
Medoc,
Dr.
let's
Timothy
not
and Pastor
discuss.
Mensah.
Medoc, let's not discuss personalities on the show as of now. We are discussing the case holistically, not targeting a particular person based on what he has done or he has not done. So please watch your opinions. Let's put it as that. Yes.
Michael, I'm not trying to mention someone's name or tag a person to this case, but clearly there's a front face to the case. He represented SRC in court. So what he says when we are reporting, whose name should we mention? Eventually, it should be his name. And I don't know why you might disagree with what we put here. That is why we have ways we address issue. You understand? You don't back into studios probably trying to make a point. That is one thing I'm trying to put across. And we've discussed issues of many administrations till now. We've passed comments and we try to be, constructive with some of our criticisms. And if you've tried it, we just up since day one. All we say is probably this is alleged, it's not proven. But if it is deemed to be true, we look at the pros and cons. You understand? So you don't want us to probably come and speak in your favor or against someone. No. Then what would be the job of us being here? We have to scrutinize issues on board as it is. And I think so far we are here, we've not even dived into the pros and cons of the issue. We just reported what have happened. And so I don't know why anyone should have an issue with what we've said on the show this evening.
Okay, I think this angle of the story we are lagging the issue behind. Let's oh boy, guys, this is the students' agenda. It's 8:22 p.m. and well, very soon we shall close today's edition. We shall wrap up today's edition of the show. What are you doing now?
Because I think that's a problem with you.
Okay, well, students' agenda, what we did this afternoon was to get our microphones that's downstairs onto the streets. Ask students, are you aware of the current petition, the current suit against the Executive Council? What do you think about it? The reporter that we sent on this very interesting endeavor was Barbara Monu. Barbara, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay, so you went out and you were asking students of the university whether they were aware of this case. What was their response? What were their response?
Okay, it was quite unfortunate. Like you were saying, we needed to get their views on air, like recorded, but unfortunately, most of them were not willing. I don't really know what the issue was. I don't know what they were scared of, but most of them were like, they don't want to talk on air. They don't want their voice to be on air. So I talked to them actually. So some people were saying that honestly, they have followed the issue, they have followed the suit, they know something about it, but they don't know the few explanation to most of them. Okay. I mean, they know there's something in court, but they don't really know so much into details. And I think I spoke to one entrepreneur guy. He was saying that to him, he thinks that the issue lacks evidence. Why? Because he thinks because we are pertaining issues to the SRC executive here. They have powers to decide on who to bring on this Enidason fund. Yeah. Okay. So then he feels that the whole issue lacks evidence. Oh. But other people too, majority of them, as I said, were still saying that they know some of they know there's a suit, but they don't have so much information.
About
They
it.
don't have so much information.
Can you say, based on the small analysis or survey you did earlier today, that a number of the students are aware or know that there's a suit of such a kind? What would you say, Captain?
Actually, yes. Just like what Richie was saying, that the students were I think now students are getting, and you'll be so surprised that it was actually the level 100s. Most of them who were like, they don't really know so much explanation, but they know this is huge where majority of the level 100. So this should tell us that we are really, students are that our voice is going far. People are listening and they are really taking part in the decision making of this institution. So yes, some of the students, majority of them knew that there was something happening. And that is just the first start. That is better than not knowing anything at all.
Great. So you heard from Barbara Mono. She is a reporter who went on rounds to get the views of students. Yes, you know, students within the University of Energy and Natural Resources. I'm rephrasing myself, do pardon me. But we have just 5 minutes to go. We shall be wrapping up on the issues. But before we do so, Medoc, there is a petition, I should believe, which is being